What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Check the Kick. I'm the host, Devin. Sherdog.com is the website. We are coming off of a pretty loaded weekend of fights, jam-packed, 2 events. PFL Battle of the Giants. That title just kind of makes me laugh a little bit. UFC Vegas 99. We had Fluffy taking on Michel Pereira, dominating him and finishing him in the 5th round after a kind of dicey first round where he got hurt to the body. Francis Ngannou caught a body, kind of left Renan Ferreira face down unconscious. That was kind of a scary sight to see a man of that stature. Francis Ngannou escaped that triangle, and the second Renan Ferreira kind of gave his back on the ground. He got pounded out real bad, real easy. Cyborg 39 pulled up, caught a dub, beat Larissa Pacheco, kind of dominated her-ish, maybe. Pacheco did well, got some licks in, but Cyborg did win that fight, 49-46 on all of the cards. Some decent stuff on the UFC undercard, but not a ton to talk about. If you do care to hear about that and you did not catch the Sherdog recap show, Dane Fox and we went over a lot of the highlights from the PFL card and then the whole entire UFC card front to back. Go into the Sherdog library. If you're listening to this on YouTube, it should be under live. You could find it and just listen to it there. It's all of my thoughts and everything from the previous weekend. If you're listening on Apple, I think it may be there. If not, shoot over to YouTube. It's there. This episode, we're just going to talk about UFC 308. No opening segment, no middle segment. We're going to skip the hors d'oeuvres. We're going to skip the baked potato and the broccoli or asparagus, whatever you eat with your steak. We're going straight to the filet mignon. It's served medium rare. We have Max Holloway taking on Ilia Topuria in the main event of UFC 308. We have Khamzat Chimaev taking on Robert Whittaker in the co-main. Really good fights scattered all across this card. First fight we're going to talk about Magomed Ankalaev taking on Aleksandar Rakic. This is a really important fight for the light heavyweight division. Whoever wins this, they've got to win it in dominant fashion. But if they do, they're holding the golden ticket for a fight with Alex Pereira at this point, especially with how stacked the UFC's heavyweight division is. Alex is looking for some time off after this fight. Time off for Alex is probably like 10 or 15 minutes. But in all reality, whoever does win this fight, there is, very large title implications for the winner of this bout. Odds on this fight. The Russian is going to be the favorite, heavy favorite. Magomed Ankalaev is a minus 400 up to minus 430 on some lines. Aleksandar Rakic is coming back at about plus 300, plus 290, plus 285, right around there. So those are some of the places I saw him at. I don't know if I agree with the odds. I think the odds are just going to be based off of Aleksandar Rakic just getting knocked out by Yeti Prohaska in his last time out, and then he did have that really long layoff after the Jan Blachowicz fight where he got that TKO knee injury, that leg injury. Before that, he won a couple fights against Anthony Smith and Thiago Santos, and Rakic has just been on a, poor guy has been on a little bit of a skid, but not too bad. Magomed Ankalaev, on the other hand, he has been performing well, but I don't know whose coffee he pissed in to upset. Must have been Dana's. But the guy can't seem to catch a break with Dana and the organization in general. He's a guy that's on an incredible streak. He lost his UFC debut to Paul Craig, which is really funny. Obviously, all of you guys know the story of this. He's kicking the shit out of him, beating the shit out of Paul Craig, and then literally with 1 second left on the clock, he gets triangled, gets submitted. That's his only loss. He's 18-1. He's got a really impressive UFC run. The dude's knocked out Ion Cutelaba twice. The first Ion Cutelaba fight's hilarious. The Dolce Lunga Ambula fight was super violent. That was back in 2019. Volkan Oezdemir, Nikita Krylov, Thiago Santos. He finished Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith hurt his leg in that fight. And then his last time out, removing the I don't know how Ankalaev gets stuck in these rematches against the silly light heavyweights. Like the two, if you just told me, hey, Devin, close your eyes and think of the two silliest light heavyweights in the division. I'm probably going to pick Ion Cutelaba and Johnny Walker. And it's really funny that a guy like, like Magomed Ankalaev gets stuck in these weird back-to-back fights with them that were just clearly he's leagues above them. Why are you like 4 of the fights on his record are caught up between Johnny Walker and Ion Cutelaba, and like all 4 of those fights were shit kickings. Even the ones where he got a no contest, or the one where Ion Cutelaba was pretending to be rocked when he wasn't. Ion Cutelaba just did that in his last fight too, which is really funny. He did look good knocking out Johnny Walker. It's Johnny Walker. He gets all of his knockouts are bad, and Johnny Walker's really good at making his opponents look really good. Did have that draw with Jan Blachowicz, a guy that has a lot of the same tools as Aleksandar Rakic, and I'm one of the probably the only people that really highly rate and rank Jan Blachowicz. Like that little run he went on where he, knocked out Luke Rockhold, and then went and won the UFC title and knocking out Dominic Reyes. And she was just, the Corey Anderson knockout where he got that one back. Like he was on a hell of a run. Beat Israel Adesanya, out kickbox Israel Adesanya, and then out grappled him. Like he was definitely on one hell of a run there, Jan Blachowicz. So I rate that. I rate both of their fights with him pretty highly. Aleksandar Rakic is a guy that's got all the tools. Sorry, Magomed Ankalaev is a guy that's got all the tools in the world to win a fight. He's a good kickboxer. He's got good power. He's got good speed. Sometimes he can be a little bit low volume, but he's a damn good wrestler. And he's one of the more well-rounded dudes in this division. He wears damage pretty well. Sometimes he's just missing fight IQ. And that's like his biggest thing. And then obviously whoever's coffee he pissed in to upset them. Aleksandar Rakic, he's also a guy that's kind of got all the tools. Like he can grapple. Go look at his Anthony Smith fight. He's huge for the division. Rakic is both of these guys are giant, but Rakic is like one of the bigger dudes in the division. He's 6'5", big reach. His legs are huge. He's just everything about him is big. He could easily, right next to Johnny Walker, he's like probably the biggest light heavyweight that I can think of. He's Pereira moving up from welterweights, another one of the bigger light heavyweights, which is crazy. But no, Rakic is fucking huge. He's a good kicker himself. He can be a very technical kickboxer. And in his last time out, he was literally just kind of downright schooling Yuri on the feet until Yuri just that doesn't die came back and knocked him out in the most Yuri Prochazka fight ever. That was back in April, so that is pretty concerning. Like we're 4 months separated from there. Sorry, 6 months separated from there. Like that's, yeah, I guess 6 months is fine. But when someone gets knocked out bad like that, especially, a big puncher like Yuri, I'd like to see him go away a little bit longer. But Rakic, if Rakic wins this fight, he's getting a title fight with Alex Pereira. And that's why he took it. Because if any of these guys in this division see Alex Pereira and they think they can beat him, and then none of them wrestle with him and they all kickbox with him. I don't know if Magomed Ankalaev would wrestle with Alex Pereira, but I can tell you one thing: Aleksandar Rakic would wrestle with Alex Pereira, or he'd try if Alex would let him. I don't love the odds on this fight because it's a 3-round fight. Magomed Ankalaev, I watched him get lit up for 4 rounds, not 4 rounds, but 3 rounds against Jan Blachowicz on the feet, where he ate a bunch of leg kicks. Jan Blachowicz is one guy, one of the only guys, not even Alex Pereira is willing to do this, but he is so willing to just chop shin on shin, shin on shin. Jan Blachowicz is one of the best leg kickers and leg kick defenders and checkers in the UFC, period. When Jan Blachowicz is on the roster, even in 2025 as a 41-year-old man, when he comes back to fight again, he can check kicks really well, and he can kick, and he's willing to kick bone on bone, shin on shin. I think Rakic can follow a lot of the same game plan that Jan Blachowicz did against Ankalaev. I don't see why don't see why he wouldn't do that. I don't think Magomed Ankalaev is going to have tons of grappling success against Rakic. Number one is because I don't think he's going to go for it a ton. I think he's going to try to kickbox with him. And then number two, Rakic is fucking huge, and he's a pretty damn good wrestler himself. Is he the technical wrestler that Ankalaev is? No, but I just don't. Rakic looked really good up until he got knocked out by Yuri. But Yuri's a guy that he's just a motherfucker. Like, he's willing to go for it. Yuri is one of those dudes that, like, he is willing to take 100 shots to just land one. And there's not many dudes, number one, with that fearlessness, number two, that durability and just willingness. And that's like the only part of Yuri's game. Like, he has to go kill you. Ankalaev is a technical dude. But if he's going to have a low-paced technical kickboxing match with Rakic where he doesn't wrestle until the third round because he doesn't know if he won the first two, I don't know. Rakic is a big underdog here, and I just don't understand why. It's men's light heavyweight, and I understand the hype and everything behind Magomed Ankalaev, and I do think he could probably beat Pereira in a fight if he wanted to, but like, does the tape show that Rakic is just going to get completely out wrestled by Ankalaev? Does it? Because it doesn't. Ankalaev has chose to strike with almost everybody. And when he had to wrestle, he had to go to it. And the one time he wrestled, he got subbed. I'm going to pick Rakic here. It's a big underdog pick. This could just fucking blow up in my face. He's coming off of a bad knockout, but I'm trying to find the silver lining and I'm trying to find the good things. I do think Rakic is super slept on. He's got big power, a good kicking game himself, and he kept up with Jan Blachowicz with the kickboxing, and Ankalaev kind of couldn't. And if this is just a 3-round fight where 2 of the rounds are kickboxing and 1 round is going to be wrestling, do I really trust Ankalaev to out kickbox Aleksandar Rakic for 2 rounds and then maybe win 1 and then have to win a 3rd round by wrestling? Not at minus 400. Give me Aleksandar Rakic to win a decision where he wins 2 rounds of kickboxing, and then there's 1 round of not desperate, but a round where Ankalaev is going to probably have to mix in his grappling. And I think Rakic just does better defensively. And again, this could all blow up in my face. Rakic is coming off of a violent knockout, but he looked fucking awesome up until then. I hope that doesn't scare him into a tepid, low-volume fight. If he goes out there and just makes it a point to throw 20 more strikes per round than Rakic, if he's got a counter in his head where anytime Ankalaev throws 1 strike, Rakic throws 2, he could totally win that round. Magomed Ankalaev is definitely willing to have a tit-for-tat kickboxing match with him, especially if he does not just meet him in the middle like Iwan Kutalaba or Johnny Walker. And you know what? He might be able to meet him in the middle and I'll technique him in a brawl. Rakic is a good kickboxer, and I just don't trust Magomed Ankalaev's fight IQ being minus 400. Aleksandar Rakic, decision 29-28, and maybe a judge gives it, one of the judges give it to Ankalaev because they think he won 1 round with his wrestling, and I think I saw him win a round of kickboxing, but I just don't trust it. Again, Rakic by decision 29-28. Moving on to the co-main event, we have Khamzat Boris Chimaev facing Bobby Knuckles, the Reaper, whatever you want to call him, Robert Whittaker. Odds on this fight, Robert Whittaker is a pretty big dog here. Khamzat Chimaev, best line I see, minus 220. Best Robert Whittaker line I see, plus 195. Khamzat's up to even minus 250 at some places. Crazy odds there. That those odds are insane. I do my little tape study, my little write-ups in the notes on my phones. on my phone, but a lot of times before I record, I actually don't want to know who the favorite is because I don't want that to impact my like tape study and my decision. And then I'll pull these odds and I'm like, oh shit. So either I'm stupid, which probably yes, or some of these bettors or you bettors are being swindled into making bad bets. But that's what the bookkeepers are supposed to do. This fight here, 5-round co-main event. I'm very surprised that they are putting all their chips to the center of the table with Khamzat Chimaev again, but at least they're, making him the co-main event. And if this fight drops off the card, the main event is good enough to where like, okay, fine. And then they got like Danny Lerone Murphy. There's plenty of good fights on this card to figure it out if the co-main does fall off. But man, I'm surprised they're putting this much faith into Khamzat. Khamzat is a guy I loved when he got into the UFC. I just loved his game. Like the very first fight, I used to do a show many moons ago. I won't name the show. But we were covering the fights and we were covering Khamzat's debut on Fight Island. And right after his first fight, he wasn't even on my radar. Right after his first fight in the UFC, I shot a message into this group chat that I was in at the time. And I was like, this guy's going to be a world champion. He's incredible. I'm all in. Since then, he's had COVID-19, quit from MMA, had Kadyrov pressure him back into MMA, moved from Sweden to the United Arab Emirates and is training there. Maybe that's why they're so willing to, put so much faith in him, because this is in Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, I believe. Yeah. Anyway, maybe that's why they're willing to put faith in him. But his game is just a menacing, powerful, punishing, athletic, just in a really awesome game. And that whole time, Robert Whittaker has just been fighting the best fighters in the world and going to fucking work with them and putting in that work with them. This guy, looking through Robert Whittaker, he doesn't have a flawless game. Even in his wins, you go start poke through his record and you poke through his fights and you're like, oh my God, this guy's fought everyone in the world. I mean, Yoel Romero twice, Adesanya twice, Jacare. Just go start looking through it. And that's the old, that's the old heads from this, since also you got Darren Till. Jared Cannonier is kind of an old head, but not at that time. He's just got wins over so many dudes. And I'm so surprised to see him as such an underdog here. Like, I just think this should be a pick'em fight based off of the way Khamzat has looked in other 3-round fights and fights that go past the first round. I'm going to talk about Robert Whittaker first because he's the more tenured fighter, and he's the former champion. Robert Whittaker, technically, he's a dude that's a great kickboxer. He's fearless. He's got a good fucking jab. He's got that very awesome step to the side lean. He'll throw a 1-2, and then right behind the 2, he'll throw the high kick right behind it to hide it behind the punch, and he'll catch people slipping. He'll kind of duck out, shoot a 1-2, and then throw the kick over the top, catch people over the guard. It's awesome. He's got a very good jab. He's fearless in the pocket, even though he got smoked in his first his first Adesanya fight in the pocket. Like he's just a fearless dude. Good wrestler, good anti-wrestler, good submissions, good ground and pound. He's really good at timing shots. He's good at mixing up the grappling when he needs to. And he's just such a well-rounded fighter. Last time out against Ikram Aleksandar, I wrongfully picked against him. That's an opponent they both have in common. Both of them knocked him out with an uppercut, but Whittaker did it fucking quick. Aleksandar did have to cut weight twice in a week and took the fight on short notice. So whatever, but it's still an awesome win for Whittaker. The read he made in that fight, he had Alaskar's timing right away, hit him with an overhand. Aleksandar kind of shelled up and circled out, and they showed that Aleksandar on the back foot has a lot of defensive holes. Robert Whittaker hit him with that beautiful uppercut, finished him along the cage, murked him. And Whittaker's had all of these battles with all of these dudes. Like, only the best dudes in the world beat him. But a lot of these dudes have had close fights with him. Sorry if you hear my dogs. I've got 3 of them. A lot of these dudes, like, once he started fighting the Yoel Romeros, like, even though he won those fights, he arguably lost one of them, and he took so much damage. Lost to Israel Adesanya after he got knocked out. He came back and fought Darren Till. That was in June of 2020. That Darren Till fight, he got dropped with an elbow. Darren Till rocked him and dropped him. Jared Cannonier rocked him, hurt him really, really bad. He schooled Kelvin Gastelum. The second Israel Adesanya fight, he got dropped and hurt right away in the first round, almost crumbled into a ball against the cage. And then he kind of came back and showed his tenacity and lead on his grappling and, almost won that fight back. Beat Marvin Vettori, outsped him, outclassed him. Good, just way more hand speed. Messed him up. Fight that worries me most about Robert Whittaker in this matchup is Dricus. Because that Dricus fight, like, Dricus just went at him full steam and, like, took him down past his guard, smushed him, and then in the second round against the cage, just crushed him to the head, into the body, and just fucking melted Whittaker. And it was like the first time that I've seen a horsepower fighter. Yoel Romero almost did it, and he arguably did do it. And that was when, Robert Whittaker at the time he fought Yoel Romero may not be as skilled as the Robert Whittaker today, but way less damage. And that matters. And that Dricus Duplessis fight, like, he took down Duplessis, but, like, Duplessis just fucking athlete hossed him. And it's what worries me is I think Khamzat might have the ability to do that. Let's go take a look at Khamzat Chimaev. What is he good at? Khamzat Chimaev, 13-0. Last time out, he defeated Kamaru Usman via majority decision. Close fight with Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman, that was back in 2023. A lot of people want to hate on that win, even though Usman did take it up a division on short notice. But, like, that's fucking Kamaru Usman, y'all. Like, come on. What the hell? You guys forget what he did to a lot of people. Before that, he crushed Kevin Holland via Bravo choke in a weird where he effed up that whole entire card for trying to make weight at 170. This fight's at middleweight again for him as well. So Khamzat, I really do think he's just a better athlete and a better performer. The submission where he just carried around the leech like a baby, the brawl with Gilbert Burns, that was a prime Gilbert Burns in 2022 as well. The way he knocked out Gerald Meerschaert, where he just used his footwork, cornered him, and deaded him with one punch against the cage, that was incredible. And then the Reese McKee and John Phillips, those are those back-to-back fights 10 days apart on Fight Island, where he just beat the shit out of both of them back-to-back in fights that they should crazy overmatched. Khamzat Chimaev is potentially today like the best active MMA wrestler in the UFC. Like, he is as good of an MMA wrestler as Islam Makhachev. Just very fucking good. Like, his MMA wrestling, his ground and pound, his submissions. That's a real dangerous dude. You mix that with his pure athleticism and his horsepower. I do think him getting COVID-19, he got long haul COVID. It really messed him up. COVID really did impact some people, where it just impacted his health long term. I'm not a doctor. All I can base off is the data he's providing me and what I'm looking at. I'm assessing it. It looks like COVID fucked him up long term with his weight cuts and everything. But if Khamzat comes into this fight fully healthy, weight cut in order, he's got at least 4 rounds of cardio, I'm really torn on this fight. I didn't know who I was going to pick coming into this, and I'm just split down the middle. Like, my heart kind of says, like, yeah, it's Robert Whittaker. What he's going to defend this dude's takedowns and then, just outpace him and stick a jab in his face. And I get told, I mean, if Khamzat Chimaev doesn't finish this fight in 2 rounds or lay a fuck ton of damage on Whittaker, and he's stuck on the feet with him, and a round 4 starts, and he's stuck on the feet with Robert Whittaker, he got gassed against Usman. And I think that's Robert Whittaker's game plan on how to win this fight. I think if Robert Whittaker wants to win this fight, he has to go put pressure on him, stick a jab in his face, and try to hurt him quick, the same way he went out there and hurt Aleksandar. Like, I think someone like Khamzat, the best way to meet him is because he starts so fast. Is I don't think you can, if you start reacting to Khamzat, it's too late. Like, when he shoots, you need to blast him with the jump knee. You need to throw an uppercut and kill him. Like, and I know, you know, the Jorge Masvidal, Ben Askren, but like, yeah, if you can take that approach, Khamzat's the guy that if you could hit him with the flying knee, because you know what he's going to do. He's got to hurt him with something quick. Khamzat is a fearless fighter. He's smiling in there. He loves to punish people. He loves to hurt them. Khamzat's best chance to win this fight is to follow the Dricus du Plessis game plan. Go out there, meet him in the middle, hurt him with a big shot, force him to the cage. Robert Whittaker's, he's got good head movement, but he's been hit. He's not defensively porous, but he's not the most defensively sound guy. Neither is Khamzat Chimaev. However, power for power, I would pick Khamzat's power. I think he's more explosive and he's got a harder punch. If he crowds Whittaker, he puts him on the back foot, he's going to take away the head kicks from Whittaker. He can't stay at range with Whittaker and have a tit for tat kickboxing match. He needs to put the pressure on him and hurt him the way he hurt Gerald Meerschaert, like up against the cage in the warning track, where you don't have anywhere to go and you just blast him with a precise punch and fold him over, or blast him with a precise punch. If it doesn't fold him over, take him to the ground, take his back. Khamzat Chimaev's, look what he did to Usman. Like, no one's done that to Usman. No one could even make his butt touch the canvas. Khamzat went and fucking ragdolled him, 10-8'd him in the first round. Not a ton of damage, but completely controlled him. I think he's going to try to make a statement against Robert Whittaker. If he doesn't finish if it does not look like the Dricus du Plessis fight, Khamzat Chimaev will lose. And I hate picking someone to have to win by finish. Like, Khamzat's only way to win this fight is by finish, but I really do think it's because if the third, fourth round starts, Khamzat Chimaev better have 2 10-8s. I think he's going to finish Robert Whittaker. I think Khamzat, and this could be one that blows up in my face. All these fights are, that's why I'm talking about them, because they're the most interesting ones. I don't think this should just be like a pick'em fight. And I always say, like, these two fights should be a pick'em fight. But like, Magomed Ankalaev should only be like a -180 favorite against Rakic, and only because Rakic just got knocked out. This should be like a -140 +120, if anything, if you're going to favor Khamzat. And I think they just see the zero. In the co-main and the main event, we've got 2 fighters that are undefeated. And then Magomed Ankalaev is essentially undefeated. Lerone Murphy as well, another dude with no losses, draws but no losses. I'm going to pick Khamzat. I just think Khamzat, if you get hurt or pressured by Khamzat and you shoot a bad takedown or something weird, he's just going to slap on like a Bravo choke, or he'll ninja choke you, or his front headlock game is just incredible. His darce game is incredible. His ability to just manhandle people, out athlete them, take them down, take their back. I think he's going to take Robert Whittaker's back. And instead of hunting a submission like he did against Usman, I think he just fucking pounds the shit out of him. And that's where the damage on Robert Whittaker just catches up. He's taken so much damage over his career. And yeah, he went toe-to-toe with Yoel Romero, but like Olympic wrestling, yeah, Yoel Romero's an Olympian. He's a better Olympic wrestler, freestyle wrestler than Khamzat. But Khamzat's in-cage, like, sambo wrestling game is just, I don't know. Robert Whittaker's never faced it before, and none of Khamzat's opponents have really ever faced it before. Khamzat Chimaev, second round TKO. I think he beats Robert Whittaker up pretty bad with ground and pound in the first round, and then does it again in the second round. Could totally also see it ending in the first round. Give me Khamzat Chimaev by finish. Moving on to the main event of UFC 308. I said this was filet mignon served medium rare. Could be served rare, whatever your preference is, but this is a damn good fight. We have the Spaniard, the Matador, taking on Blessed. Ilia Topuria taking on Max Holloway. Odds on this fight, guess I could understand why. Topuria is the favorite. He is a minus 250 favorite, minus 265 even in some places. Max is a 2-1 dog, plus 200, plus 205, plus 195, right around there. The lines I'm seeing him at. This is a good fucking. This is like the best fight of the year, probably. I don't know. I'm such a Max Holloway fan that I'm at the point where I've seen him in so many wars where I love watching him fight, but I hate watching him fight at the same time because I just like hate to see him like get hurt. It's such a weird thing. Covering combat sports, you hate to watch someone get hurt. But yeah, Max Holloway is that guy. Love the guy. Huge Max Holloway fan. Ilia Topuria, I'm a huge Ilia Topuria fan too. I've been watching this guy and has come up for quite a while. Like a year ago, I texted one of my buddies and I texted him and I told him, I'm like, yeah, Ilia Topuria is going to knock out Alexander Volkanovski when he fights for the title. Sure shit. Matchups thing. But yeah, Topuria, the Matador, incredible guy. Max Holloway, if you're listening to Check the Kick, you know, if you found your way to Sherdog and Check the Kick podcast, I'm sure you know damn well who Max Holloway is, and I'm pretty sure you know damn well who Ilia Topuria is. Since Ilia Topuria is the favorite and the current champ, we'll talk about him first. He's 15-0, spotless record, and has looked incredible in the UFC. You know, people don't talk about this, but he was supposed to debut at bantamweight against Petr Yan. Like he was supposed to take a short notice fight at bantamweight and fight Petr Yan. How fucking crazy! Instead, he took on Yusuf Zalal, and he ragdolled him, threw him around, and really leaned on his wrestling in that fight. And looking back, that's a great win. And no one really knew who Ilia Topuria was at that time. After that, he knocked out Damon Jackson with brutal punches to the body and punches up over the top. The way he finished Ryan Hall was fucking awesome. He was just not fearful of being on the ground with him at all. And then when the moment came, he just landed violent ground and pound. We talked about Francis Ngannou and Renan Ferreira. Yeah, not that punishing, but pretty fucking punishing. He took on Jai Herbert up a weight class, almost got knocked out where he got hit with that head kick. He survived, came back in the second round and flattened Jai Herbert. It's funny because like his best knockout also came off of the time he almost lost the fight by knockout himself. After that, he arm triangled Bryce Mitchell in a one-sided fight that kind of started turning into a little bit of a war. We're watching the fight back. Like Bryce Mitchell had a lot more success in the striking than I think a lot of people recall. Like pause this and go back and watch it. You'll see what I mean. After the Bryce Mitchell fight, he took on Josh Emmett. Where like in recent MMA history, I can't recall anyone getting a 10-7 scorecard. But yeah, he got a 10-7. He like one of the judges scored a 10-7 round for Ilia Topuria over Josh Emmett. Incredible boxing performance. And then just his last time out, February until earlier this year, he knocked out Volk. Max Holloway, the underdog. Just both of these guys are coming off of incredible performances, knocking out Alexander Volkanovski. Even though Volk was coming off of that head kick loss to Ilia Topuria, he was still the champion of this division. Islam Makhachev, Ilia Topuria smoked him, knocked him out. Max Holloway just knocked out Justin Gaethje up a weight class in a buzzer beater knockout in a fight of the year for the fucking bad motherfucker belt. Like, before that, he knocked out Chan Sung Jung, Korean Zombie. Max Holloway has fought everybody. He has fought every single. I mean, like the dude started in the UFC in 2012, and he had 4 fights. He lost to freaking Dustin Poirier via armbar in his first UFC fight in 2012. He was like 19 years old, 18 years old. After that, he beat Pat Schilling, beat Justin Lawrence, beat Leonard Garcia. He lost a splitty to Dennis Bermudez. He lost against Conor McGregor, which is crazy. He fought Conor McGregor in 2013. It was like 20. Conor McGregor was like 22 or 23. Then he went on this incredible run. He also finishes Wilchope, guillotines Andre Fili, knocks out Clay Collard, knocks out Akira Corsani, defeats Cole Miller, subs Cub Swanson, literally forces Charles Oliveira to quit, beats Jeremy Stevens. This is in 2025. Beats Ricardo Lamos, finishes Anthony Pettis, finishes Jose Aldo, finishes Jose Aldo again, finishes Brian Ortega. What a fucking run. This dude, Ricardo Lamas is a really good win back in 2016. Finishes Anthony Pettis, finishes Jose Aldo, finishes Brian Ortega. Those are 4 fights in a row for Max between 2016 and 2018. 2019, he moved up and fought Dustin Poirier in one of the most incredible fights ever for the vacant lightweight belt, not vacant, interim. Lost that fight against Dustin Poirier. That was back in 2019, so that was 5 years ago. He was a lot younger, smaller, didn't get put together on short notice, but Max wasn't in his, it wasn't the Max we saw take on Justin Gaethje. He defended his belt against Frankie Edgar back at 145 after Dustin Poirier. Then he lost to Volk in a really, really close fight. The rematch at Volk, I thought he beat Volk in the second fight. After that, he had that incredible performance against Calvin Kattar, had that really incredibly gutsy performance against Yair Rodriguez, fought Volkanovski for the third time, and that was the worst I've seen Max look in a fight and the best I've seen Volk look in a fight. He just didn't have an answer for Volk's speed and boxing, and that gives me a lot of worry for the Topuria fight, quite frankly. But after that fight, he went out there and had a good fight and a good win against Arnold Allen, who is a really good fighter and a contender in this division. Dropped Arnold Allen and hurt him at the end of the 5th round, where Arnold Allen wanted to do the brawl thing with Max Holloway, and he got hurt. Chan Sung Jung, we already talked about him knocking out Chan Sung Jung. He almost finished Chan Sung Jung, rocked him really bad, was in the 2nd round, and then went for a sub. And he was like, ref, just stop this dude. I'm gonna kick this guy's ass. It was almost matter of fact for Max Holloway. And then he ends up just saying, well, F it. And Korean Zombie walks onto a big counter. The Justin Gaethje fight. He goes out there, hits Justin Gaethje with a spinning back kick, breaks his nose in the 1st round, and just has a tit for tat striking match with Justin Gaethje and beats him the whole way through. Even in the 4th round where he got clipped, he bounced back up to his feet and arguably, even in the round where Max Holloway got dropped, outside of him being dropped, he still won all the fighting in that round, all the majority of the exchanges. And then in the 5th round, he was winning the 5th round right after being dropped by Justin fucking Gaethje, one of the most dangerous dudes ever to fight at lightweight, one of the most violent dudes ever, punishing dudes ever, took all his leg kicks and clobbered him in the 5th round, where they just went to war and left him face down in the octagon. And if you said, hey, Devin, someone is going to get a buzzer beater knockout where someone's going to be laying face down, and Justin Gaethje has just come off that head kick KO, let's not forget, Justin Gaethje had come off of a bunch of great wins, the head kick over Dustin Poirier for the BMF belt. Max Holloway took that BMF belt from Justin Gaethje. And I know the BMF belt means nothing, but BMF belt doesn't mean nothing when Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje are fighting for it. And it doesn't mean nothing when Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje are fighting for it. That means something. All time, all 3 of those dudes, all times, so that win totally means something. Ilia Topuria is such a good fighter. He's such a dangerous boxer. He's got good footwork. He's got really good leg kicks. He's so willing to punch the body. He's not the most defensively sound dude. And I don't know how durable he really truly is. Like, yeah, he hung in there with Josh Emmett, and Josh Emmett has huge power, but we've seen him get hit in fights. The Jai Herbert fight, he got head kicked and almost got fly line. That head kick would hurt a lot of people. Incredible boxer, really good footwork. He's really able to get opponents to respect his power. And then once they respect his power, he gets on the front foot, pushes you up against the cage, corners you with good footwork, and starts body punching. Like, if you get onto the warning track against Ilia Topuria and he's landing body punches on you, he hits so hard, he causes his opponents to shell up, and then he starts looping big hooks around the guard. Same way the knockout sequence against Damon Jackson, the knockout sequence against, go look through his record, Alexander Volkanovski, they're all pretty similar in the setup. Outside of the Ryan Hall one, that was just really incredible. Not many people would have been able to do that against Ryan Hall in that fight there, even if it is Ryan Hall. And his Greco-Roman wrestling, like, Ilia Topuria is a wrestler first. Like, he's getting better as a boxer. He's young. He's 28. Like, he's becoming a better fighter. I have some questions about his cardio because he looks good when he's winning, but what does he look like when he's winning, but he has an opponent that starts making him lose and starts, like, even Josh Emmett in the 5th round, like, went for it and still had moments in that fight after literally getting 10-7. And Josh Emmett's great. He's got more power than Max Holloway, but he's not the fighter that Max Holloway is, and he's not he doesn't have as much durability as Holloway. But Ilia Topuria's grappling at BJJ, he's a black belt. He's an incredible topside grappler. He's got good submissions, really, really good ground and pound, ask Ryan Hall, and tons of big power there. Max Holloway, crafty dude, really, really crafty striking. He's got Ilia Topuria is probably the better boxer just because he's got more power. But Max Holloway, he can fight out of both stances. He's a good kicker. He's got great head kicks. He's got spinning back kicks. He is a guy that is willing to actually make a game plan and stick to a game plan and practice different striking techniques and incorporate that into his game plan when he's taking on his opponents, a la Justin Gaethje in the spinning back kick. You see him open up new wrinkles, and Max Holloway's also getting better at fighting. He's a guy that, how many people would have quit the fight and the loss against Dustin Poirier? He's been in wars. The 3 losses, especially the last time out against Volk. Like, Max has had every opportunity to quit, and Max Holloway shouldn't fucking be here. The only person that could have done this is Max Holloway. Max Holloway had an amazing quote when he fought Justin Gaethje, and fellow Sherdog associate Keith brings this up, and Keith Schillen said something that he mentioned this, and I thought it was great. What Max Holloway said, that gladiators back in the day didn't walk around with a scale. You showed up and you fucking fought. Like, that's the type of dude that Max Holloway is. He's just such a killer. He will lean on his wrestling if he has to, if he's faced with someone like Yair Rodriguez, but I don't think that's going to be his game plan here. In a fight like this, he really needs to stick his jab onto Topuria. And Max Holloway is becoming a better counterpuncher than I think people realize. Like, he hurt Arnold Allen in a brawl, counterpunched him and dropped him. Go watch the tape. I just did a little bit ago. Chan Sung Jung counterpunched, walked him straight into a big overhand right, flattened him. I think he's going to put pressure on Topuria, but then try to force Topuria to pressure him back and try to catch him slipping there. He has good knees, good head kicks. He's going to be taller than Topuria. My fears for Max is he does leave his head out a lot, and he does get hit a lot. And I put Topuria on the same level as Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier with punching power, and motherfucker might even be up there even higher. He hits really hard. If Max Holloway, Volkanovski, I've always felt was not the most durable guy, but was so well skilled that he could craft his way out of situations like that. But all it took was Topuria to push him against the cage, and he got murked there. Max Holloway has really good footwork. He's really good at skirting on the outside. I just have a feeling that Max may be able to outlast Topuria here, stick him with a jab, force him on the back foot, hit him with big kicks, be the one that initiates things. Don't be scared to kind of get into the pocket with him, but don't overdo it. If you start getting hit in the body, don't shell up, get out of there, and do not get yourself cornered against the cage. He cannot get himself cornered against the cage. Topuria is one of the only guys that, like, I really do feel like if he were to go to boxing, like, he could do well just with his style and his venomous power. Like, if Topuria got someone cornered in a boxing ring, oh boy, they'd be fucked. And it's interesting how O'Malley kind of shut up about him when he knocked out Volk, because Topuria would fold O'Malley in half. All the wrestling that Merab did to him, Topuria could do, plus just kill him on the feet. I mean, Topuria could walk him down and hit him in the body and hit him with an overhand and fold him in half. Anyway, going on the tangent there. Yeah, this fight, I could totally... It's crazy because, like, in ways, Topuria is the more well-rounded fighter. But Max Holloway has good takedown defense, good get-ups. He's really hard to get. You can't really take the dude down in the middle of the cage. You got to press him against the cage. And I think Max's technique for this fight is he's not going to allow himself to get pressed against the cage, because Topuria presses you against the cage with his footwork. He's not looking for takedowns there. He's looking to take your fucking head off with body punches and then shots over the top, big hooks over the top. I think Max might be able to beat him with straight punches. If you go back and watch the first round of the Topuria fight with Volk, he stood toe-to-toe with Volk, and a lot of people scored it for Volk. Actually scored the first round for Topuria, but Volk did plenty of work, caught Topuria. I think after the Justin Gaethje knockout, Max is really confident. I think Max has hurt. Ilia Topuria hurts everybody, and Max was a guy that was, some people claimed he was pretty pillow-fisted. But I think Max is now 32. He's a little bit more willing to sit on his power. His camp said they weren't sparring, and then they started hard sparring a lot for the Justin Gaethje fight. He has to take the same approach that he took with Justin Gaethje here. Just be the craftier guy. Topuria may be a little bit faster than him, and I think that could also potentially give Max problems, like with the footwork and the combinations. Like Topuria and his team are going to probably try to recreate the third Volk fight. And I think Max Holloway's team may try to incorporate a lot of the stuff that Bryce Mitchell did. Bryce Mitchell had a lot of success striking and getting off the cage, and kind of landed a lot. Like, upon rewatch, I'm like, Bryce Mitchell did a lot better in this fight than I realized. But Max over 5 rounds, once Max Holloway gets in the flow state, Max Holloway is one of those fighters where he's a wedge, and it's like a battering ram and a wedge, where he's just hitting the door trying to get his way in. But the second it cracks a little bit, he's going to swing that motherfucker open and start rolling downhill. If Topuria wins the first 2 rounds and then Max wins the 3rd round, and Topuria's tired and he's got hit with shots he didn't realize, maybe Max hits him with a nice head kick or hits him with a jump knee. The leg, Max eats so many leg kicks, but even against Gaethje, like, they just didn't seem to bug him. I hope he checks the kicks, because Ilia Topuria is going to try to land some kicks. Ilia Topuria is going to back him against the cage. Max Holloway cannot let his back touch that. He cannot get inside that warning track. And if he gets in the, gets his back against the cage, he needs to pivot out quick, throw something and get out. And Max needs to work on his pivots in this fight, because that is something. L-steps, Topuria likes to do a lot of pivoting, a lot of shifting combos, especially against the cage. If Max gets against the cage, he needs to figure out which way Topuria is going, pivot out the other way. Max is just such a crafty vet. And Topuria is totally the guy that could be the first person to knock out Max Holloway. His punching power, he hits so hard. He's so willing to body punch. Maybe he hurts Holloway to the body with something, but I just think Holloway is going to, I think Topuria is going to want to have a striking match with Holloway, and it may get too late into the fight where he realizes he needs to lean on his wrestling, pretty similar to Ankalaev, because Topuria has just mostly always had his way with people, outside of the Jai Herbert fight. Like, he's almost really always had his way. I just don't know what happens when he doesn't. Like, if Volk never got knocked out in the second fight, like, what does the rest of that fight look like? I don't really know. Both of them are coming off of incredible performances, but I think Max Holloway's performance over Justin Gaethje all around was just a little bit more impressive. just because I think Gaethje is as dangerous as Topuria and is a fucking battering ram himself. And new. Hawaii has a champion again. Max Holloway is going to be the first person to win a belt, lose it, get the BMF belt, and then retain the belt again. And then I don't know. The world's great if Max Holloway wins the fight this weekend. I'm going to go with Max Holloway by decision. I think he is going to take some lumps and have a really tough 2 rounds. But I think at that point, he may figure out his range, figure out his timing. If he gets in his flow state in the 4th round, I could see him giving Ilia Topuria a lot of problems, especially if he forces Topuria on the back foot. Topuria gets a little tired. Max Holloway starts ripping combinations. Look at the Calvin Kattar fight. If he gets any of those sequences going, I don't know if anyone can hang with him, especially the way he's looking now, where he's really leaning on his power. Max Holloway by decision. It's a pick with my heart. I'm picking as a fan. Max Holloway. That's the show, guys. Check the kick. Thank you so much for tuning in and enjoy the fights.